Hello and welcome back. You're here with the Lone Wolf once again. Apologies, I've been away for the last week or so I haven't had access to my normal setup, but normal service should be resumed from today. Today's article is from The Hill, and it's called Dating in a Changing America. Despite cell phones, dating websites and mobile apps, social networks and more opportunities offered by modern technology, dating for many Americans has become more complicated, difficult, and worse than it's been in the recent past. You're telling me. In a 2019 national survey, nearly half of US adults and a majority of women said that dating has become harder in the last 10 years. 2/3 of those single and looking for a relationship reported that their dating life was not going well. In addition, approximately 65% of women currently single and looking to date said that they had experienced harassing behavior from someone they dated. Whereas about 1/3 of men surveyed said it's hard to find someone who meets their expectations. I'm surprised that it's only 1/3 of men. I would expect it to be at least 2/3, at least. 2/3 of women said it's hard to find someone who is looking for the same kind of relationship and meets their standards. Also, single men were more likely than single women to be seeking dates or a relationship. Yeah, I mean, we all understand that it's much harder for men to acquire dates. A woman can basically just put up a hand or signal to the street that she's looking for a relationship, and it's extremely easy. Anybody that's set up a fake Tinder or Bumble profile will realize just how easy it is to get, 4 figures in matches within a very short space of time. But for men, this is exceedingly difficult. More recently, the global situation with its social distancing, mask wearing, remote schooling, closed clubs, and other risks has further complicated dating and increased loneliness. Some recent surveys report that many singles have a fear of dating again. One survey, for example, found that close to 40% of singles were nervous about their social skills for dating in real life. Dating apps, websites, and other technologies are contributing to new norms, expectations, and behavior for those seeking a relationship or waiting to hook up. In addition, 2/3 of Americans surveyed said that the increased attention to SH has complicated dating, especially for men who say it has made it harder to know how to interact with someone on a date. Yeah, I mean, you're just not going to take that risk, right? You could just walk up and you could see the most attractive person you've ever seen in the street, want to make an advance there and try and introduce yourself, which is hard enough anyway. If it's difficult enough to approach a woman in the street and engage a conversation and spark up some chemistry without that being perceived as creepy. If it's perceived as creepy, then you're in deep trouble, and it can be devastating to your life. So again, understandably, men are just not bothering. By the end of the year, online dating services are expected to reach about 370 million active users worldwide. In the US, the number is estimated at more than 1,500, and the target demographic for these online dating services is approximately 87 million single Americans in 2020. America has the highest percentage of its population, about 15%, using online dating services. Although some Americans have concerns about the safety of online dating, approximately 50 million Americans say that they have or continue to use websites or mobile dating apps. A 2019 national survey found that about 30% of Americans, with higher rates among younger singles, had used a dating website or app. Most users were positive about their experience, but it left some, especially younger women, more frustrated than hopeful. Most apps tend to be male-dominated. Yes, we all understand that. The competition on there from other men is extreme, because the ratio is just not favourable for men, most men, the majority of men. Especially given that men generally have more difficulty dating than women. Also, one survey found that about 40% of frequent users of dating apps are already married. 40%, I mean, that is fairly surprising given that, so you're on there, you're a dude and you're on there and you're single, you're trying to sort. It's the only game in town for a lot of people to try and get a date. But not just that, you're competing with a bunch of other men that dominate the platform, and then 40% of those could be married. Right? Or let's say 20%, because they don't specify whether this is male or female from this data point. That's astonishing. Some researchers found that the content on many online dating platforms is remarkably trustworthy, possibly more so than phone conversations or direct communication. It appears that online daters are not indiscriminately deceptive, perhaps because doing so risks being publicly exposed. However, potential problems with online dating such as catfishing, using a fake profile to entice a romantic interest, harassment and explicit messages continue to exist. Approximately 1/3 of married adults and those in a committed relationship report that friends and family helped them find their partner. A much smaller proportion, about 12%, found their partner online. However, that pattern appears to be changing as online dating is losing its stigma, and surveys report more committed couples meeting online than through friends. In addition, the global situation has contributed to increased virtual dating for socializing and courtship. Guidelines, rules, and behavior for dating vary by age, sex, and experience. Younger men and women, for example, have more time for dating a variety of people before deciding whether to make a commitment to a long-term relationship with someone. Most single Americans surveyed say they don't feel a lot of pressure from friends, family, and others to find a partner. Also, many single women report not currently looking for relationships or dates as they have other priorities in their lives. A recent survey found that among adults over age 18, nearly 40% believe that 3 months into dating was an acceptable time period to consider exclusivity in a relationship. Once in such a relationship, Americans consider it unacceptable to date others. So why are they all on dating apps? Why is 40% of them still on the dating apps? Is it for purely ego reasons? Self-esteem reasons? That's, puzzling to me. Views regarding dating and premarital relations have also changed over the recent past. Half century ago, about 80% of Americans frowned upon relations before marriage, as more recent surveys find that the majority of them view premarital relations between consenting adults to be acceptable. In addition, men were more likely than women to view it as acceptable. By and large, breaking up a dating relationship if things are not working out as desired is viewed as acceptable. However, the vast majority of Americans surveyed say it should be done in person or sometimes by phone. Breaking up through technology, especially ghosting someone, is not considered acceptable dating behaviour. Typically, women have tended to date and seek intimate relationships with men who are higher in social, educational, and financial status. Well, that's just hypergamy in action, right? We all understand what hypergamy is and the concept that it actually... Women tend to date up, men tend to date at the same level or below. With American women increasingly attaining higher education, careers, economic independence, and increased opportunities, the potential pool of men considered attractive and dateable by women has contracted appreciably, resulting in a dating gap for both men and women. Even with modern technologies and increased potential matches, Americans report that dating has become more difficult than in the past. Among the important consequences of dating becoming more complicated and harder, especially following the outbreak of the global situation, is increasing numbers of Americans are encountering significant difficulties in arranging desired dates, developing relationships, finding partners or spouses, and establishing families. Those difficulties in turn portend far-reaching changes that are ushering in a very different American society. Yeah, namely the birth rate. If you've got a birth rate of like 1.7, what's going to happen with the next generation as people move on? I've spoken about this a few times now in different videos. Population is going to decline unless they plug the hole with immigration. Who's going to rent all of your homes, these people that have like 10, 15 mortgages? Who's renting them? Who's setting up businesses? Who's generating economic growth? It's not going to come from within because the birth rate just isn't there. Now, the article was fairly bland and boring because of the just endless reeling off of surveys and statistics. I actually thought it was quite poorly written. But the comments will be quite illuminating, I would suspect. Yeah. Already, Fred Rogers. 2/3 of those single and looking for a relationship reported their dating life was not going well. Yeah, because men don't want #modern women. Yes. And women are just fine with that. Great, then stop complaining. There is a lot of white male icy rage in this comment section right now. These comments are clearly uncensored. Mr. Alighieri, the potential pool of men considered attractive and dateable by women has contracted appreciably, resulting in a dating gap for men and women. And this guy, I imagine, is going to speak genuine truth. Hypergamy, social media, and assertive mating will leave many women chasing the very top. However, outside of being in a man's harem, many of these same women will become sheng nu, or leftover women. Men would do well to stay healthy, lift weights, stack dollars, and enjoy their hobbies while they're in their 20s and 30s. Yeah, I would agree 100% with that advice. The mindset that I put out on this channel. Men should focus on primarily their health, getting fit, maintaining that, eating well, and mainly working as much as possible. You've got to work, you've got to grind, you've got to stack cash, and then obviously have fun as well. You know, take lots of hobbies and sports and things, and just do you. You know, especially while you're within your 20s and 30s, fundamental youth. If you want some fun, pay the market rate for it. Yeah, again, agreed. If you absolutely must. It's far cheaper than marriage, or simply become an F-boy, a side dude. Once you let go of the idea of the romantic love, you come to see dating as what it is. It's a marketplace, and as Datanomics shows us, women are shrinking their dating pool and more risk being forever alone once their beauty and fertility dry up around 35, and the market mints new 18-year-olds daily. Yeah, I couldn't put it better myself. He totally hit it out of the park with that comment. College-educated woman puts an extremely high blah, blah, blah. Right, and I'll end it with that comment. Yes, dating in America is changing, and it's changing for the worse. It's very, very difficult for even an average guy. Like, if you were an average guy back in the 50s and the 60s, and I imagine you would have been able to get, you know, find a wife, probably a high school sweetheart, get married, have children, and raise them on maybe one income. You could have, you know, one parent would work and be able to support the family on one salary, and the other could stay home and look after the kids and raise them properly without having to get childcare or any of this other stuff. These days it's difficult to even approach women without, you know, without some apprehension and fears around how your approach is going to be perceived. And then, of course, the only game in town is the dating apps, and I think there's a lot of conspiracy around whether big tech companies are driving this. And, you know, they want you to be dependent on social media. They want you on social media all the time, and it sounds hypocritical to say that when I'm on social media. I'm on YouTube. But they want you glued to these apps. They want you glued to the advertising dollars. They want you paying for the apps. They want you absorbed in them all the time, and it's a waste of time. You've got to move away from this mindset, and it's going to take a long time until we actually get back to where we need to be. But yeah, the best thing you can do is just walk away from it. And if something happens, if you do want to date, I mean, I know there's guys that follow me, I mean, me included, I mean, I would happily date if the environment was favourable, but the environment where I currently live in the UK is not favourable at all. So if I was in another environment, another country that is beneficial for that worldview, then I would do it. But be that as it may, I'm not. So yeah, I hope you enjoy that commentary, guys. That's the state of play in the US, and according to The Hill, their summary, not a very well written article, it's just a bunch of statistics with no commentary. But that's the state of play, and I hope you found it useful. I'll see you again in the next video.